So when should you take Social Security? Early at age 62, at your full retirement age, or delay it until age 70? Wow, that is a question that I did not expect to be so contentious. And just thinking about it, I need a little drink. In any case, I am part of a Facebook retirement group for people who are retired, thinking about it or planning for it. And I am in the last category where I am planning for my retirement. And this question came up, was super interesting, and I could not believe all the comments that came in. There were a lot, and there were quite a few that were quite disturbing because they were just plain wrong. There was one person in particular who was adamant that you're always, and I emphasize that word, always better off waiting until age 70, where your benefits will be much higher and it will be higher forever to take your Social Security benefit. And there's a part of that answer that is true. If you wait, it is higher. If you wait, it's higher forever. That's all true. But it may work for this person, but it's not going to work for me, and I'm going to show it to everybody here. And I was just really mad that that was the answer, and this person was really adamant that they're right when clearly they're wrong. And unfortunately, the answer is it depends. Like anything in life, it's not straightforward and it's not easy. I wish I could just give you an answer that's definitive and say, here it is, this is what you should do. But unfortunately, just like everything else in life, it depends. So I've made an Excel model that shows it for my scenario, and I'm going to talk through some of the assumptions. I'm going to try to go as fast as I can. And then I'm going to talk about some other factors where it may make sense for you to wait. Okay? So with that in mind, let me go ahead and cast my my computer here. Let's see, upstairs office, and let's see if this works. There we go. All right. So this is my situation, and it's not exact, but it's pretty close. And I will preface it by saying that I am in a very small minority that can possibly retire early and retire very comfortably. And there's a lot of it that is luck, and a lot of it my personal situation. And I don't want to minimize the luck part of it, because there's a lot of people who think that they have this special ability, this magical skill, whatever, when it's really luck. So I want to give luck credit where it's due. The other part that allows me to be in this situation is that I have a great job, and I'm not going to deny it. I have a great job. I'm also single, and I don't have kids. So I don't have the expenses that a lot of families have of saving for college, contributing to college, and other expenses that very well impact their ability to save for retirement. It's unfortunate, but that's what it is. So I am in a different category, fully admit that. I'm about to turn 45, and if I'm lucky, I can retire when I'm 60. Take a little earlier than normal, and wow, that stopped, so I gotta cast that back on. Retire a little bit earlier than normal, just because there's a lot of things I want to do, and I want to have plenty of time to do it. So let's get into it. In this particular model, it's based on real returns. They're super conservative and whatnot. But in this particular model, I actually have forecasted to take retirement at 55. And it shows that I'm going to have a starting balance of $3.5 million to retire on. And like I said, this is a lot more than many people have. Completely get you. But bear with me. This is why I took umbrage at the answer that you should delay until you're 70. It doesn't work for everybody. For me, I don't need Social Security to live on. In fact, when I was planning for retirement way back in my 20s, I basically just assume Social Security is not going to be there and won't be a part of it. Okay, so yeah, it depends on who you are. But for me, if my portfolio can grow at 8%, which I think is conservative, I'm going to have a balance of about 3.5 million at age 55. So let's walk through some of the assumptions here. I divided the money into two buckets. There's an aggressive bucket and a conservative bucket. The aggressive bucket I've pegged at an average annualized rate of 8%. I think anybody would agree that that's pretty darn conservative, even for an aggressive earnings rate. My conservative earnings rate is 3%. Again, very, very reasonable as an assumption. Withdrawal rate. We've all heard about the 4% rule. I like to go a little lower to be safer, to just make sure that that portfolio will last, even though they say that with proper allocation at a 4% rate, you have a 90% likelihood of having your retirement fund outlast you, right? That's the goal. But for this exercise and in all the planning that I've done, I've always taken it a notch more conservative just to be safe, okay? So withdrawal rate is 3.5%. The next one is the withdrawal growth rate. You can think of this as inflation, but it's basically what I'm going to increase my withdrawal by every year, just to make up for, buying power, cost of living, and all that jazz. I put that at 5%. We are in a very low inflation and interest rate environment. So that's, again, super conservative. I think that, realistically, inflation, if we continue where we are today, it's probably more along the lines of 2 to 2.5%, okay? But I'm assuming 5 just to be safe. I've checked my Social Security statement, and it's telling me that if I start withdrawing early at age 62, I'm going to get about $2,200 a month. If I wait until my full retirement age, which is 67, you'll see the acronym FRA for that, full retirement age. Some people have it at 66, 66 and a half, mine 67. If I wait until then, it's $3,100 a month. If I delay until age 70, it jumps to $3,900. Okay? These percentages, let me explain what they mean. Basically, what this is saying is that if I take my Social Security benefit early at 62, it's going to be 30% lower than my full retirement age if I wait. And it's going to be 30% lower forever until I die. That part, absolutely true. If I take it at full retirement age at 67, it's going to be 19%, about 20% lower than if I wait until age 70. And it will be at that level forever. If I delay taking Social Security benefit until age 70, it's going to be about 24-25% higher for the rest of my life, however long that may be, okay? And then I have a little drop down here in the model to select the different ages where I can collect benefits: 62, 67, or 70. In the model here, I have a starting balance, and then I have an allocation between the aggressive bucket of money and the conservative bucket. And then the gains for each bucket, the withdrawal that I would take every year, and then the ending balance. The last two columns is a monthly balance. It's just the withdrawal divided by 12, and the RMD factor. RMD factor is just your life expectancy at those ages. So at 55, you're expected to live for another 41.6 years. That's RMD factor. And it only goes into effect really when you have to take RMDs, the required minimum distribution, at age 72, which is an increase based on the newly enacted Secure Act. It used to be 70.5, but now it's 72. And basically all you do is you take your portfolio balance and you divide by your life expectancy, and that's the minimum that you must withdraw. You can always take out more, but that's the minimum, unless you're going to pay a hefty penalty. It's like 50%. It's ridiculous, okay? And then lastly, what I have here is the final portfolio value at age 115. Now, if I can live to 100, be happy as a clam, provided that I have my full acumen, mental acumen, and all that jazz. But to be conservative, I'm having the model go to 115 because a lot of people who advocate delaying your Social Security benefit until 70 is saying that the longer you live, the more it'll pay off. And that's absolutely true. So I pegged it at 115. And then what I have here in the model is that, as you can see, cells are highlighted at age 62, 67, and 70. And what happens is that depending on what I adjust for my collecting age up here, it's going to reduce the amount that I have to take out of my own funds to keep up the same standard of living. Okay? So in my specific case, like I said, I do not need Social Security to retire on. It's a great position to be in. So really the only thing that Social Security is doing for me is allowing me not to touch my own money and let that sit and accrue. Okay? There's something that is called the sequence of return risk that is worth talking about here. And it basically says that for two people who have the same average annualized return over a specific period, the person who suffers a down market early in that period is going to be worse off than the same person who has that down market much later on. And it basically means that if you have a 15-20 year retirement period and you're hit with a bad down market in the first, second, third year, something like that, even though your average return over the 20 years may be the same as the next person, you're going to do worse than them if that next person has that hit much later, like say in year 15 or 16 or whatever. And the main reason is that the longer your money is able to grow and really grow, not be hit by this down market, the better off you are. Okay, so all things being equal in terms of average return rate, that sequence of return risk is very important. So for me, taking Social Security early allows me not to touch my money earlier in my withdrawal and gives me that extra cushion of safety. So let's go ahead and see what happens here when I adjust the collecting age. So right now it's 62, and you can see that my final portfolio value is going to be $84,000 at age 115. And a lot of that, as I scroll down here, okay, is, and I'm going to zoom in this sheet so you can see better when I edit the video, but you can see that RMDs is forcing me to take like huge amounts later on, right? 800,000 a year, okay, when I get to a certain age. That's the effect of RMD, okay? But because of RMDs, the final value is actually quite low because I'm taking a bigger chunk out of the portfolio every year. But if I were to collect on my Social Security benefit at age 62, my portfolio value at 115 is 84. If I were to wait until full retirement age at 67, you can see the math updating here. So there's a big drop between age 66 and 67 because that difference is made up by Social Security. You see that I dropped from 84,000 something to a final value of 80,500. If I were to change this to 70, that drops to 79, okay? So this is proof that for me, in my specific scenario, I am way better off taking my Social Security benefits at age 62, even though it's going to be reduced by 30% from my full retirement age value. And it'll be at that reduced level forever. That is absolutely true. But it works out because I don't have to take as much out of my nest egg. And that's why the answer is, it depends. I'm happy to share this model and you can plug in your own numbers and play around with it. But let me talk about why someone may want to wait. So if you have a spouse, okay, and you think you're going to die before your spouse, and they don't have an earnings record of their own because they were a stay-at-home parent or what have you, and they're going to claim off your record, they will get 50% of your benefits. If they have their own record and it's higher, they're going to get that, okay? But if they don't, they're going to get half of yours. And the way Social Security works is that if you claim at 62 and you begin taking your Social Security at that age, your spouse your partner will only get half of that when you pass on. If you wait until your full retirement age, then they're going to get a higher amount. It's not worth it to delay beyond full retirement age, because whereas you get the benefit of that delay up to age 70, they will not. They're going to max out at 50% of your full retirement age value if that's when you take it, and not more than that. There may be other scenarios where it may make sense to delay. So let me give you a quick one. Let's say that you had a family, you were busy saving for their college education, you had children, and you paid for some of their expenses in college as well as saved for it. And as a result, you did not put as much into your retirement fund as you would like. And let's say that you had determined that, in order for you to retire, you're going to need about $60,000 a year. But you've only managed to save up maybe $750,000 by age 65. Still a nice sum, but you realize that in order to actually generate an income of $60,000 a year at the 3.5% withdrawal rate, you're going to need a portfolio nest egg of around $1.7, $1.8 million, right, to really generate that income. But you only have $750,000. You're $1 million short. For you, it may make sense to go ahead and withdraw the $60 million, which works out to be, what is it? I think it's 8%. We're gonna make it equal here. Yeah, 8%, right? And if you were to withdraw 8% of your portfolio a year at retirement, there's a high likelihood that you're going to run out of money before you die, okay? But in this specific case, you could delay your Social Security benefits until age 70, but still collect that $60,000 from your own portfolio. And then by the time you get to 70, hopefully your benefit has risen to an amount that is significant, and then you can start using Social Security and then reducing what you need to take from your own portfolio by the same amount, and have your portfolio last your entire retirement period. That's a scenario that could make sense, okay? So the lesson here is don't listen to someone who's giving you such a definitive answer without some kind of proof, okay? Because there's a lot of truth in the answer that can throw you off track, because it is absolutely true. If you wait, you're going to get a higher benefit amount, and you're going to get it forever. If you take it early, you're going to get a reduced benefit, and sometimes it's significant, and you're going to have that reduced benefit forever. All that is true, but depending on your specific situation, that may not be the strategy for you. So you got to look at everything in totality. All right, I'm going to end the video here, but if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I will be happy to answer it as best as I can. Anyways, I hope you find this useful, and be careful of what you hear on the internet, including from me. All right? Have a good day. Thanks.